Tonight, Port Augusta residents affected by the closure of the local disability program demand answers about where to go next and what the RAA wants done about what it's calling one of the most dangerous roads in the state.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. Parents of clients at a Port Augusta Day Options Centre say they've been left in the dark ahead of the looming closure of its disability program. The announcement was made last year, with families claiming there's been no alternative offer of assistance.
KinCare's Day Option Centre has been providing locals with disabilities a safe place to learn and socialise. In November last year, parents were told in a letter that the Day Options program would cease in a matter of months.
I don't know what else to do with her, and she'll be beside herself.
It's left families desperate for information.
My daughter needs to have something other than her own home environment. She needs to socialise with other people. She needs to have friends.
One parent of a child with autism hopes another provider will take over so there's minimal disruption to her daughter's routine. Families were given a letter saying KinCare and the Department of Inclusion would work to ensure a smooth transition to alternative care. But with the centre's program closing down on February 2nd, families are fuming at the lack of communication.
You know, we need to be told as first-hand maybe, because we've got to make arrangements. If there is nothing, we've got to work out what we're going to do for our daughter.
The company behind the program was unable to be reached for comment. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
The region is set to sizzle over the coming days with 40-degree plus temperatures forecast in the Upper Spencer Gulf. It's prompted health professionals to remind residents of the importance of keeping cool.
It wouldn't be summer in South Australia without a scorcher or two, just 2 weeks after tough conditions, while Port Augusta and Port Perry will do it all again, thanks to a high-pressure system off Tasmania.
Winds will turn around to the northeast to north, and that will bring down some very high temperatures.
Both Port Perry and Port Augusta are expecting 3 days of 39 degrees or above temperatures from Wednesday, while it will start with 37 before hitting 40 on Thursday and Friday. Even Port Lincoln will top 40 degrees on Thursday ahead of a change on Saturday.
The chance for a thunderstorm on Saturday, but the maximum will be a bit lower.
Paramedics will be on alert during the dangerous conditions.
Stay out of the heat if you don't need to be. Stay hydrated. Utilise your fans and air conditioners if you have them.
And we're also being reminded to keep an eye on the sick, children and elderly who are vulnerable in this weather.
Other disease processes can be exacerbated in prolonged periods of heat, so it's important that they are checked on.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
The RAA is urging all political parties to commit to upgrading the Horrocks Highway at the state election. It says the stretch of road in the mid-north is in dire need of improvement to curb serious injuries and fatalities.
Connecting regional cities to Clare, the Horrocks Highway has been voted one of the most dangerous roads in South Australia.
It's a bid to save lives and a bid to stop injuries on one of our roads, which our members think is one of the most dangerous in the state.
Since 2012, the highway has recorded more than 100 injuries and 4 deaths. The crash rate the highest between Clare and Goulah.
The casualty rate or the crash where somebody is hurt or killed per kilometre is 4 times greater than it is for the rest of the Horrocks Highway.
Adding to the concerns of motorists, no overtaking lanes for a 24k section of road.
Big potholes, undulations, narrow lanes and some widening of the road, and we also need some overtaking lanes to be put in there.
The RAA is calling upon all political parties to reduce the Clare Valley's road toll by committing to upgrading the highway.
We're really calling on all parliamentary candidates and political parties to commit to fixing this particular road.
The RAA hopes within 5 years' time the highway will be safer and more forgiving for motorists.
We would want to see within 12 months a plan on how they're going to fix it.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Crews have returned to the Broken Hill Civic Centre, continuing to fix the laundry list of building defects. The city's mayor says she's not putting a completion date on the works, but hopes it'll be ready by March.
The Civic Centre still closed.
It's a lot of things that we need to address.
The city's main conference facility reopened its doors last year after undergoing a major redevelopment. It was put through its paces with 2 major events in 2 weeks. Since then, it's been closed. And there's plenty of reasons why.
Over 315 defects that we want them to address. So they've started, they're on site. We've asked them to work towards a date towards the Civic Centre for the Australia Day Awards.
Council remains in a legal battle with the centre's architects and builders and has since brought in a management specialist to oversee the work that needs to be done. However, it's unclear when the centre will once again be open for business.
We want to make sure that everything's on schedule, and we want to make sure that we deliver the Civic Centre that we promised the people, that we said that this would be a Civic Centre that you'd be proud of. This will be a Civic Centre that will be safe.
The clock is ticking ahead of a debutante ball booked in at the centre for March.
You know, I'm not going to say January. If I say March, I'll be happy. January, I'll be more than thrilled. Better to take some caution and to actually plan around that rather than to say we'll be open for business.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
After the break, concerns over the use of Port Augusta Prison's new $55 million upgrade. That's next. Well, a helicopter pilot had the delicate task of pulling electrical cables for the new Silverton wind farm this morning. The pilot was forced to hover perilously close to the new transgrid towers, threading the cables onto the pulley systems in windy conditions. The power lines will run over a distance of 25 kilometres to be connected to the Transgrid substation in Broken Hill. Pretty cool. Unions have voiced their concerns over a lack of health professionals for the Port Augusta prison expansion. The Public Service Association says officers are refusing to fill the new beds until medical staff are in place.
A new multi-million-dollar expansion in the state's largest prison left half empty. The Public Service Association says Port Augusta Prison's new 128-bed Saltbush unit won't be filled until a nurse shortage is resolved.
We only have 64 of those beds filled, and our officers have determined that no further prisoners will be accepted into Saltbush unit until the medical services are in place to support that prisoner population.
The association is concerned with a cost-cutting proposal that is seeing medications no longer handed out by nursing staff.
We're also highly concerned about the potential risks to our officers and also other prisoners if medications aren't administered or are administered inappropriately, because unmedicated prisoners present a safety risk to all.
The Australian Nursing and Midwifery Federation agrees.
There is a very serious risk of people not receiving the appropriate medications that have been prescribed for them, and equally, of course, people consuming medications that haven't been prescribed for them.
The Public Service Association is pushing for more medical staff.
So our concerns for our members particularly is about the additional workload for our correctional officers in escorting prisoners to hospitals for administering medications and other medical matters which could and should be accommodated within the prisons.
An SA Health spokesperson told Southern Cross News in a statement that recruitment to fill existing vacancies is underway. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Whyala's federal MP hopes the orders for local steel will keep flowing following a delivery of the material for the Inland Rail line. The Spencer Gulf is playing a massive part in a section of the multi-billion-dollar infrastructure project.
A historic moment as the first rail is delivered for the Inland Rail project, connecting Brisbane to Melbourne. The first 5 kilometres was delivered yesterday, with around 14,000 tonnes of steel required for the Parkes to Narromine section in New South Wales. And the track has a distinct Spencer Gulf flavour.
This rail has been manufactured in Whyalla, been welded up in Port Augusta, and has been delivered here to site. The first 5 kilometres has been delivered here today.
Rowan Ramsey has welcomed the first batch, saying he lobbied the government to use Whyalla steel. He's also pleased Port Augusta has benefited as well.
There's about 40 jobs up there, so that that's got a fairly reasonable long-term future as far as I know.
It's estimated around 262,000 tonnes will be needed to complete the 1,700-kilometre rail line. And if the steelworks can keep its prices competitive, it's expected the orders will keep flowing in.
A planning space, and the rail plant in particular, a planning space for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and so they know they've got order coming in the whole time.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Complaints from residents in Laguna Reserve has prompted the Port Lincoln Council to urge dog owners to keep pets under control at all times. It follows calls from the public for the region to have its own off-leash dog park.
There are furry companions, but at times can often be a handful.
Dogs with aggressive behaviour and running free are a problem right across the town.
Residents living in the marina are now at the end of their tether. Ongoing complaints from locals about aggressive pet behaviour and owners not following regulations has forced the council to tell dog lovers to comply with the rules or face consequences.
Remind people of their obligations. Try and educate the public about what the rules of dog ownership are, and particularly control of dogs in open spaces.
The latest public backlash follows community appeals for an open dog park. The council is now in the process of allocating funds to see the project through this year.
Community's been quite strong on the need for a dog park. Council is working on it as we speak, and we're looking at suitable areas, and we'll be going out to public consultation fairly soon on that.
In the meantime, the Mayor encourages owners to use off-leash parks where dogs can roam, but to always have pets in control and to pick up after them in public.
Pets are great, dogs are great, but they need to be properly looked after.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Still to come tonight, a man with no limbs dives deep with sharks off Port Lincoln. That incredible story next. New research has found Broken Hill residents who consume locally produced honey are more likely to eat a product contaminated with lead. A study conducted by Macquarie University has found honey produced by Broken Hill bees contains more than 10 times the amount of lead in the product produced in Sydney. It's being put down to ongoing mining emissions and petrol sources. Well, diving with sharks is a unique experience for everyone, but even more so for one man. Chris Koch was born without arms or legs, but as you're about to see, it's never stood in the way of achieving his dreams.
When it comes to adventure, Chris Koch is no stranger to facing his fears.
That was pretty awesome. That was actually really awesome.
Even before venturing into the deep, Chris was looking for that adrenaline rush above the water.
Did a barrel roll over top of Coffin Bay, and now we're going down in with the sharks.
Chris was born without limbs, but the Canadian farmer who travels the world as a motivational speaker says it isn't his biggest hurdle.
Really, it's not the arms and legs that is the obstacle in life. It's up here. We can convince ourselves we're capable of anything.
Chris has never let his situation stand in the way of achieving his dreams. Last year, even finishing a marathon. Speaking in Cummins on Friday, Chris couldn't pass up the chance to get on board with Calypso Star Charters.
If anybody has no desire to do this, I think you should just do it anyways, just because it's worth it.
The experience, his most rewarding adventure yet.
Use myself as an example to encourage people to just get out there and make the most of life and live life to the fullest.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
To local sport now, and harness racing action returned to Broken Hill over the weekend. Pat Reike joins us now with more from Memorial Oval, and it was a great night of racing, Pat.
Yes, it was, Fraser. After a long break over Christmas, trots were back here on Saturday night. 5 races were held during the twilight meeting, with a local driver winning the main events. The weather was a bit chilly, but the races were close across the night. Ashley Camilleri had luck early on, driving Tiana's Choice to victory in race 1. But it was Anthony Adams who took out the night's main race, the Lisa Jane McInnes Memorial, driving Mr Magic Man to its 10th career win. It was a tight finish though, half a head separating first and second. Broken Hill Harness Racing is back again this weekend. While many sports still haven't resumed after the Christmas break, wireless softball is in full swing. It was smooth sailing for the Tigers this week against the Indians. The Tigers were rounding the bases at an alarming rate, scoring 14 runs and restricting the Indians to just 4. Baseball is also back in the Steel City, with Roadrunners reigning supreme in both the A grade and B grade. And Fraser, that does it for this week's Sports Wrap. Basketball will be back across the Spencer Gulf in the coming weeks, so we'll start bringing those results to you soon. And remember, if you want your sports results on Southern Cross News, send them through to localsport@sca.com.au.
Patrick Reiki in Broken Hill there. We'll stay with us after the break. Abby has all the local weather details. And Abby, as we heard earlier, we're certainly in for a heat wave.
Yes, we are, Fraser. It's about to get a whole lot hotter around all centres. I'll have all the details next. Welcome back. Well, it was a hot day right across our centres. It climbed up to 36 in Port Augusta. Temps hit the 30s in Whyalla, while it was a lovely sunny and 28-degree day in Port Lincoln. And it was warmer in Broken Hill and Port Pirie, both reaching tops of 35 degrees. On the satellite now, and high cloud in the state's west is keeping conditions dry and skies are clearer over the remainder of South Australia under a ridge of high pressure. On the waters, southwesterly shifting southeasterly winds are up to 15 knots, seas at 2 metres, and sunrise is at 25 past 6. The heat's really going to pack a punch tomorrow, especially in Port Augusta, heading for a scorching 41 degrees. Very hot in Whyalla too, 37 the top. Temps around the low 30s to the west, while Woodna and Corn will both join the 40s club. A very hot day in store indeed. And temps will soar in the 30s for all other areas, 39 the top for Port Pirie. Looking ahead in the west, temps will continue to climb on Thursday. It's going to be an absolute scorcher in Woodna, 44 the top, and those hot temps will continue to end the week, but we could see some scattered showers about. The good news is we'll see a little bit of relief from the heat for Saturday, a pleasant 27 the top for Port Lincoln. Further up the Gulf, no relief in sight for Whyalla or Port Augusta. Temps climbing into the 40s on Thursday, and it's going to remain very hot in Port Augusta on Friday, 43 the top. Again, we'll see a little bit of relief for your weekend plans, with temps around the mid-30s for Whyalla and Kadina on Saturday. And finally, Port Pirie is going to reach 42 degrees on Thursday before some scattered showers on Friday, but the rain won't bring any relief from the heat, 41 the top. Clare is also in for a scorcher, 40 the top to end the week, before temps drop into the mid-30s. And it's going to be sunny and warm in Broken Hill too, with temps hovering around the 40s into Saturday. So Fraser, this heat wave is certainly brewing, and it's going to hit all centres from tomorrow.
Yes, looks like we'll have to stay cool. Thanks, Abby. And that's all from us tonight. Thanks for your company. Enjoy your evening. Good night.